Hey guys, I'm Sonnet with Sonnet's Garden Blooms. I want to welcome you all to my channel. Now in today's video, I am doing a thrift to treasure. So many of you who've been following along for a little bit have known that I am attending Cranberryfest, which is the first weekend of October, 1st and 2nd. So it's a 2-day event. And I have been diligently working on flipping items, DIYing, and just handcrafting, you name it, I am making it. And I have a double booth this year. So in today's video, I am taking 5 items that I've recently thrifted and we are flipping them so that I can bring them to Cranberryfest. So I hope you enjoy and I can't wait to hear what you guys all think. For Project 1, on one of my hauls a while ago, this has been sitting in my stash, I found this stained glass boat wheel and I knew right away I was going to take the stained glass out and then I was going to paint the wheel, and I wanted to paint it white because I really wanted that blue to pop. And because I'm going to be taking this to Cranberryfest, I thought it was the perfect thing to bring up north. So I did paint it with 2 coats of white swan. I did some wet distressing to it, let it dry, went ahead, clear coated it, and I put the stained glass back into it, and I absolutely love how this turned out. For Project 2, I showed in my haul this basket and I loved it. I picked it from the Goodwill Bins and I was going to cut the handles off. I received so many recommendations on how to fix this. I initially tried to glue it. It did not work, and a lot of the viewers had said gluing it is not going to work, like gluing it and just using twine. So initially here, what I did is I tried to glue it and then hold it in place with some blue tape. That did not work at all. The blue tape just caused way more problems. So in the end, I just tipped it, or I turned it sideways, and I kind of pushed it against myself, and then I decided to staple the 2 sticks on it. So what I did is initially I thought I could just staple it in the center and kind of hold it. That did not work. So I pulled it off and then I ended up putting glue on that stick and stapling it on each side of the actual stick. And then that seemed to work a whole lot better. So then what I did is I took the second stick, I tipped it sideways, I glued that stick as well, and then I put that on the underside and I ended up stapling that side of it. So it had double reinforcement, and now it's time to hide the sticks. So I'm using this twine and I start off by hot gluing the pieces on it. I hot glued a little bit on the top and underneath. And my big concern here was I thought that this 2 sticks would show with the twine, like that it would be thicker in that area, and it really wasn't. It turned out awesome. So it took me a little bit, and it was a fresh roll of twine, so it was huge, and I had to keep going under the handle, but in the end, I think this turned out great, and I didn't have to ruin the basket, and somebody is definitely going to get use out of it, and I think it just adds a little bit more by adding the twine on it. I ended up finishing the basket or the twine by doing a little hot glue on the whole end, and it really held well. And like I said, I absolutely love it. And I want to thank everyone who made comments to say, save the handle, because I did. and I absolutely love it. What do you guys think? So for project 3, this I picked up at the bins as well. This little basket, it had some twine on it, and I knew right away when I saw this as well. I always have visions when I pick an item out of the bins or at Goodwill, and I knew I wanted to put a mold on the front, and I'm using Olive Crest from IOD, and all these supplies that I'm using today can be found on my website at www.sonnetsgardenblooms.com. So I am using the air dry clay. And if you haven't used it before, what I do recommend is using cornstarch and putting cornstarch inside the mold. It really helps release the air dry clay. The nice thing about the IOD molds is that it does have a micro rim, so it makes a really nice smooth back when you're putting the clay on there and wiping off the excess. And I just take my thumb and wipe off any excess of the clay, and then what I do is I tip it sideways or I tip it down, and I really let gravity help release that mold. So I'm not doing anything myself really. I just kind of flip the edge and then I tip it down and it falls right out. So I'm going to place it where I want it to get an idea of placement on the actual basket. And now we're going to take the set of stamps called letterpress, and I decided I wanted to take the numbers 2 and 5 for like 25, December 25th, and I'm going to slightly just place them on there and take my finger and make the impression in the clay. And you don't want to press too hard because you'll have the whole outside of the actual stamp as well. So you just want to get the slight impression of the number 25. So now, because I want to glue this on when it is actually wet, so it takes the form of the basket, I do want to paint the whole entire piece the color that I'm using. And what I do is I paint it and then I take my hairdryer and I dry it with that, and then we're going to glue it on. That way I can let it dry overnight and the whole mold actually hardens. And that way when I'm ready to do the next steps by adding a clear coat and wax, it's not going to distort the impression of the 25 or any of the detail of the mold. So now that it is dry, I am taking Titebond, and the key here is I just put some in the center. I use my finger and I rub to the edges. Now you don't want it too thick because you don't want the Titebond glue to be oozing out, but you just want a nice even layer on here. Once you get that, then you put it in place, and what I like to do is just lightly press down all over the entire mold, and then I look at all the edges and just make sure that it is completely adhered to the piece. So now it's the next day, and I'm going to take Big Top. I'm going to completely seal the mold with Big Top. A couple other options, you could use a clear wax as well, because what I want to do is I also want to use a white wax and really make all the detail of the mold pop and that 25 pop as well. So now that it's dry, I am using the white wax from DIY, and I'm just putting a little bit on my waxing brush and filling in all the detail. I didn't want to get the wax on the basket itself, just on the mold. And so what I did is I did the front and then the edges a little bit, and then I took my just a piece of paper towel and wiped off the excess. And you can see it really makes all the detail of this mold completely pop. For project 4, I picked these 3 pictures up at the Goodwill Bins on a recent haul. And I know that I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for this because I heard a lot of comments that they loved the daisy prints. But I knew right away that I was not going to use the daisy prints. So what I plan here is I'm using White Swan from DIY, and I am going to apply 2 coats of White Swan to the images to completely cover them and just get a really nice white surface to work with, because I'm going to break out some Upcycled paper and we are going to make 3 custom pictures. So I am using Upcycled's decoupage paper called Sepia Blossom. And when I saw the yellow of the frame or the matting, I knew right away that I wanted to use this. I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to just make that yellow pop. And what I did is I basically cut out 3 custom pieces, and I just took my finger and my fingernail and just traced where I wanted to cut the pieces. Cut all 3 out, and what I'm going to do next is we're going to decoupage those in the actual frames. So I'm using liquid patina from DIY, and this by far is my favorite decoupage medium for Upcycled papers. And how I do this is I start and I work in sections. So I don't just completely coat the whole area with the liquid patina. I'm going to start on the top and then I'm going to work my way down. And this really helps eliminate a lot of those wrinkles if you work in sections versus just trying to plop the whole piece down all at one time. So I'm going to lay a little bit of liquid patina, then I'm going to start laying the paper down and rubbing it with the paintbrush or the liquid patina paintbrush, and work out any wrinkles and just work my way, add more liquid patina, work my way, and so forth until the entire piece is completely on. Now that I have all 3 pieces decoupaged on the pictures, I am taking black velvet from DIY and I am going to paint the frames black. I just think this is going to really make the images pop with the different black tones in each of the pictures. And then once it's dry, I'm going to come back and wet distress them just to make a little bit of the color of the frame pop out. So here I just have my damp rag and I slightly just rub, because the frames have such amazing detail. I just wanted some of that detail to pop through. And like I said, I just rub it all over just randomly, and I love the way these frames turned out. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. For my fifth and final project, I always am on the lookout for rolling pins. I love them and I love upcycling them into beautiful little works of art. So I am going to do 3 different techniques to these. The first one, which is the smallest, we are going to paint the base of it white. And I am doing 2 coats of white swan to this one, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to that. The second one as well, I am painting 2 coats of white swan to it as well. And then the third one, we are going to leave its natural color, and we are going to do one of my favorite stamping techniques to this. Every time I have done the stamping technique, I have almost immediately sold the rolling pin. So I had thought, should I do 3 of them the same? But I want a variety for my display, so we are doing 3 different pins. For the one that I'm going to leave natural, I am painting the handles black. I'm going to let them dry and then go back and do a little wet distressing to those to make them look like they've been old and, worn and aged. So I'm going to use the stamp called Kindest Regards, and honestly, I get so much use out of this stamp. I'm using IOD's black ink, which is permanent, and what I am doing here is going and basically stamping the entire area, because I'm going to take that rolling pin and I am going to roll it across this stamp and get that beautiful font all over this rolling pin. I did try to mark it so that I knew where to stop, but this is a very seasoned rolling pin and the tape would not hold. So I am just going to roll with it. I start on the edge, and like I said, I'm just going to take it and put firm pressure and roll it across the actual stamp, and you can see the beautiful impression that you're getting here. So for the next one, I am just distressing back a little bit of the white swan on here. I just want it to look a little worn and aged as well before I do the next technique on here. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I made the letters bake, and I'm using the letterpress stamp set here, and I'm just going to roll right across that word bake, and it gave the most beautiful impression. So for the third rolling pin, I am taking more of that recycled decoupage paper called Sepia Blossom, and I cut a or a piece that will fit the actual rolling pin, and we're using liquid patina, and I am doing the exact same thing that I did with the pictures. I am just starting in a small area and adding the liquid patina and then working my way down. So I add the actual paper, smooth it out, add a little bit more liquid patina until it completely covers the rolling pin. I didn't show this, but in the end, I actually cut out a few of the bees that were on the paper and I added those to the rolling pin just to give it a little bit of something extra. And I just think that it added so much to the rolling pin. I then went back and I did paint the handles black velvet from DIY. I did wet distress it and then clear coated those as well. So you may notice that in the video. So what did you guys all think? I am so happy I was able to salvage that basket. It is beautiful, and if you watched my haul video, I did talk about how I picked it, I threw it back in the bins, and then once I saw it was a Petersboro, I'm like, I'm gonna pick it and cut the handles off. So thank you all for everyone that commented and gave me ideas to save the handles and gave me ideas on how to fix it, because you guys are pretty crafty. Like I said, I was like, I wish there was a way to fix it. I really did. So I'm glad I was able to do that. I accomplished a lot. I had been in like total sign making mode, so I had to come to a screeching halt, get in the flipping mode, and now I think what I'm gonna do is continue on and just do more flips tonight. I am very inspired by items that I had picked. I had grabbed more items that I need to get done for Cranberryfest. So I hope you guys show up for my Monday live. I plan on showing you what I accomplished this weekend. And Wednesday, I'm going to just keep on bringing you guys along. So if you already don't know, I am putting out a ton more content over on Facebook. I am doing lives every Monday and Wednesday. I put out a video here every Monday and Friday. So if you haven't yet and you love my channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications. So every Monday and Friday when I release that video, you'll be notified. And if you haven't done that yet, go follow me on my other socials. All right, well, thanks guys, and you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you Monday. Bye. Bye.